We begin by thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who sent down this book upon His chosen Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam, knowing that we cannot thank Him enough, because as Imam Shafi told us, to be able to give thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all the blessings, we have to be thankful for the ability to thank Him. This ability that we are saying, Alhamdulillah Alameen, in itself is a blessing. And this is said after revising a Risala 40 times, and then he said, only the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is perfect. And he left behind this book that has been with us for 1400 years almost. What did he write about? What did he tell us about this book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we just heard part of it? To be honest, how many of you who have heard this beautiful recitation today understood what is being said? It's a blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that today from one end of the earth to the other end, His book is being recited. Every fourth person now walking on this earth says, Ashhadu la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Every single one of them believes that this book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the sunnah of the Prophet that is left behind are the only two sources of guidance. But how many of us can open the book and start reading Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim Alif Lam Mim Zalik al-Kitabu la Rayba Fi? How many? 80% do not have that ability anymore. 80%. And the 20% who can actually open the book and start reading, 15% of them do not know what they are reading. Why are we in this state? How are we here day after day? Ramadan is the month of the Qur'an. We need to connect with the Qur'an. But how? Does anyone tell us? It's like saying to someone who is extremely hungry, eat, eat, eat. But the person doesn't have food to eat. He doesn't have the stomach that can take anything. For the last 300 years, this is the second level. We have been bombarded. The message of the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is being spread by those who do not believe in the book. You hear every day somebody stands in a corner in Sweden and says, I'm going to burn the Qur'an. You cannot burn the Qur'an. Nobody can burn the Qur'an. But why would somebody even come to that stage? This happened in Montreal. This happens in Canada. Why? What happens? We believe that every single child who is born upon fitrah. Kullu mawludun yulidu ala fitrah. Our Prophet told us. This man wants to burn the Quran today. He was born upon fitrah. What happened to him? Fitrah, as our scholars tell us, is the pure inner disposition in every child recognizing the Creator Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's just built into us. Every child comes, what happens to them? There is a process. This child grows up, goes through education system, goes to university, and his professor says, Islam is a religion. In my class, write such and such article on Islam. Where would he go? He'll go to the library, go to other books, and what would he find? The book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is being explained by those who do not believe in the book, and that's the only resource he has. I went to the University of Alberta Library 2 weeks ago. The shelves are full of material produced by those who do not believe in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When did this happen? We went to sleep. We went to sleep, and those who didn't believe in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they woke up. 1647, two people in Holland. They realized that all these new universities popping up in Europe, University of Oxford, University of Paris, University of Leiden, they would need resources on Islam in the Western language. Two people, and they said, we're going to start a publishing house that would produce resources which can be used in the university system, because they knew that the generations are going to come through this system. Look at the smartness of these two people. They established what is called Brill Publishing House. 1920, Brill Publishing House produced the first Encyclopedia of Islam. Who wrote that? Missionaries, Orientalists. And what did they tell to the world about Islam? It's too much to tell you. But what did we do? Our Mustafa Kamals in Turkey and other people in other countries, they said, translate this into Turkish, into Urdu, into Persian, into Arabic, and this is your source in your own university system. 1920, after the Second World War, they said, this encyclopedia is now outdated, we are going to have a second edition of Encyclopedia of Islam, and that second edition became the standard source. So this young man is going to go to the library, and he's going to open the book, this encyclopedia, and read about the Qur'an, about the Prophet ﷺ, about us, about you and me, about what we believe, and what would you find in this? I'll tell you in a minute. The worst thing that happened was in 2015, they published the first encyclopedia of the Qur'an in any Western language, in 6 volumes. This became, over the last decade, the standard reference work all over the world. It's been translated into Persian. I know the people who are translating it, and I say, why are you doing this? You know what's inside? They had no clue. Ibn Khaldun, may Allah have mercy on him, he told us when a nation is conquered, it becomes psychologically enslaved. In his Muqaddimah, he says, psychologically, those people think that we have been conquered because we are inferior, and everything that comes from the conquering nation becomes their standard, they just follow it. So we translated Encyclopedia of Islam, now they are translating Encyclopedia of the Quran. In this so-called academic work, open the article on the Quran. The author says that according to Muslim sources, the first revelation came through the Prophet ﷺ in the form of a piece of cloth upon which was embroidered, Ikra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. According to Muslim sources. Every child knows this is not true. Every Muslim child knows this is not true. Because if we believe in the written transmission of the text of the Quran, then they are going to raise the issues, oh, what happened to that parchment? What happened to that piece of cloth? The book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how did it come? Upon the ala qalbik, upon the heart of the Prophet ﷺ by Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam, oral transmission. We are people who believe in what our Prophet told us orally. We don't need texts. Texts are inferior in our tradition. If you write Ashhadu la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah on a piece of paper and put it in a bank deposit, write it in gold, you won't become Muslim. Nobody accepts that. We say Ashhadu la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah with our tongue. It's an oral testimony that is in the heart, because the heart speaks, not the piece of paper. Open the article on Ummahatul Mu'mineen. I won't tell you what it says. But just the fact that they call these Mothers of believers, greedy, jealous, sexually deprived, fighting with each other for the attention of the Prophet ﷺ. Yani, you read this and your blood starts to boil. What do we do with it? When somebody burns the Qur'an, what do? We go and we burn our own buildings. We stand in our Tahrir Square and say, Allahu Akbar. That's not the answer. Allah has given us intellect. Allah has given us aql. What do? We produce superior reference works for us and for everyone. We know that book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala consists of 3 fundamentals, as Imam al-Ghazali told us. 3, he said, is the invitation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to all humanity, and it consists of 3 fundamental themes. The first is Tawheed. The second is Risala. And the third is Ma'ad. He died in 1111, 505 Hijrah. He actually repeats what had been there for the 500 years, starting from the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, reported by Al-Tabari rahimullah in his tafsir. He says that everything in the Qur'an can be channeled, condensed into 3 fundamental themes. Number 1, Tawheed. Number 2, Risala. Number 3, Ma'ad, the return. And Imam al-Ghazali says that these 3 are followed by 3 subsets. First, Tarif, Allah Ta'ala. The definition, who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Who is Allah? How many times Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has described himself in his book, La ilaha illallah. We all know this, but there is more to it. There is tremendous, as the scholars say, if you start just talking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the oceans, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself says, the oceans would be finished, the trees will be finished, and his kalimat would never be finished. Number 2, Risala. Imam al-Ghazali says this is his description, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's description. His invitation goes to all humanity through messengers. 2 responses come all the time, right from Adam alayhi salam until the Sayyidina Muhammad. What? Yes or no? The second theme deals with those who say yes and also those who say no. And he says the third is their final destination, which is again 2 places. You either go to the right or you go to the left. There is no other way left. So if we were to take these 3 fundamentals, take all the concepts attached to this, you heard this beautiful recitation today from our Sheikh. Didn't heart tremble? Did we not feel this in our being, in our whole being? Was it not shattered when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us what He told us in this beautiful surah? If we were to take all concepts, all places, all things, all persons, and all events mentioned in the Quran, write one article that contains all the verses, all the ayahs about that event, person, place, thing, concept. Go to the ocean of our tradition and see what scholars have said about that concept. Like about you, about me, about life, about death, about jihad, about women, about our relationship, about our children, about life of the dunya, life of the hereafter, about beauty. All of these concepts, Hunain, Badr, events, places, things, tabut. Tabut is a thing, zarra is a thing. Theme of creation. How did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala create this whole marvelous universe? We say Big Bang. Is Big Bang in the Quran? How did this come into existence? We take these concepts, we put all of them into this huge container, all the ayahs, all the tafasirs, all the opinions. We stir it. And then we extract, concentrate, something that will supersede this terrible work and produce something that is beautiful to hold, that is beautiful to stay on the shelf. That is where this young man is going to go and say, look at this. This is what this says, and this is what this says. And guidance comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't guide anyone. But what are we doing? We are opening windows which have never been opened in any Western language or even in our own languages, by producing these very special articles dealing with concepts, places, things, persons, events mentioned in the Qur'an. There is nothing outside it. I'm not saying it. Sheikh Mahmoud is not going to say it. Nobody is going to say it. The tradition is going to say it. 1400 years of scholarship put together in a nutshell. 8 pages, 10 pages, 20 pages. With references. What would we do? This new generation growing up here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought us here. We have so many resources and abilities and freedom. We cannot do this in Egypt or Pakistan or Turkey. We are here in this country not because we conquered it, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought us here. 1940, 50, can you think of somebody praying here? Inshallah. So, last thing I want to say, the barakah of this place, mashallah, this is where I came in 2008. Sheikh Mehar was here. Across the street, I sat in his house and we wrote a list of 620 articles that will go into this encyclopedia. That list went around the world for 2 years and it became what it has become, 523. We are almost close to publishing the second volume. This is the first volume. It's available outside. Sheikh would say more about it. The second volume is almost ready. We just have one article left, Companions of the Prophet ﷺ. We are hoping to publish it in fall. We are here to seek your assistance, your help in doing what is absolutely necessary, not only for people living here, but also everywhere in the world. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept this. May He grant us the tawfiq and the ability to do what is the need of the hour. We have been asleep for 300 years. This is time to wake up. We are waking up, inshallah. Sheikh would say more. Jazakallah khairan.